All right, well, I guess we're gonna get started. Feels like the right time to get started on our bellies, and you can start the music right away when you want to, or if you want to, I should say. Great, so just giving yourself the chance to like get here and to settle in. Good. When you come to lie down on your belly, it might feel nice to take a little blanket roll underneath your lower belly to kind of press into your hip crease area. But you don't have to do that. You can just lay there if you want to. Finding the front of your body softening down into the floor. Your head can turn to one side or the other, or you can stack your hands and rest your head on the backs of your hands. Another nice option might be to place your hands underneath your hip points and kind of touch the tops of your thighs with your fingertips. Noticing the way your heart is beating against the ground. The way the shoulder blades kind of spread apart. And that space in between them gets a little bit broader here. Good, and then just notice your breathing. Whatever it sounds like this morning. And maybe your breath is kind of easygoing, gentle, and subtle, or maybe it's like a big dramatic breath if you need a bunch of those, and feel free to just do what you need to do here breath-wise. Just kind of be intuitive about it for this first little bit of time. Give your body what it needs. And then just take notice of what that looks and feels like and what it sounds like. Good. So I just wanted to read a Mary Oliver poem. This one is called Praying. She wrote, "It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention, then patch a few words together and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into things and a silence in which another voice may speak." This isn't a contest, but a doorway into thanks. And really feeling the movement of breath in your body, the way it rises and falls. This most basic of vital jobs that your body has to do. Good, and now if your head is turned to one side, go ahead and turn it over to the other. You might rearrange your limbs a little bit just for a moment. We're gonna be on our belly for maybe like another 20 breaths or so. I'm gonna suggest also the possibility that you take your feet out a little wider so that your lower body kind of looks like a V shape from your pelvis down through your legs. And if you can point your toes out to kind of bring the inside lines of your legs down towards the floor. Just wanted to toss that out as an option. If you get there and it's like, ugh, no, feel free to just do it, anything you want to do. And let's begin a little bit more of a focused breathing. And it's not like a specific breathwork technique, but it's just about filling up and emptying out and kind of finding the edge of both, right? So when you're breathing in, you breathe in until it's enough, until you feel comfortable, with no expectation of how long you're breathing in or what that looks like or what it sounds like, just what feels like enough. And then same thing, as you breathe out, when you get to the bottom, how far do you need to breathe out? What's enough? I'm just kind of cycling around here. Breathing into a comfortable fullness and emptying out, and finding yourself down there at the bottom. And before returning that inhale, stopping at the top and then releasing. Good. Another handful of breaths like this. Awesome. All right. So I'm thinking that from here, we're going to come up into a Sphinx pose. So if you happen to have like a blanket underneath your low belly or your thighs, it might be nice to kind of slide them away. And coming up into your Sphinx pose, take notice of how things are feeling in your low back. Right? Sometimes coming all the way up onto the elbows isn't exactly comfortable in the lower back. And you might want to lower yourself down, maybe just putting a block under your chest. Right, or even resting your head on the back of your hands. Or maybe you want like a big back bend this morning. Maybe you're like ready, you're ready to go. Good, no wrong answer. Good, just holding yourself here. Good, so I was thinking about focusing on 3 different energy channels today. First, the urinary bladder channel, which is huge. It's gigantic. It runs from the inside corner of your eyes and up to your hairline and down and around your head. And then it branches off on either side of the spine. There are 2 channels on either side of the spine, full of points. A whole bunch of points down near your sacrum at your low back. And then it continues down. And so just thinking about your back now. See how things feel here. Good, and this gentle squeeze of your kidneys, your adrenal glands. If you want to drop your head down, you're welcome to do that. Maybe roll it around a little bit. Good. And so the urinary bladder meridian, I believe, starts at the inside corner of your eye. So see if you can bring a little bit of attention there and soften the inside corner of your eye and the inside of your eyebrow. Let your eyeballs get nice and heavy. You notice the top of your head, the back of your head, your neck. Yeah, and maybe just another 5 breaths or so here in your Sphinx. Right, when you feel good and ready, set your chest down, drag your left knee up towards the left side of your chest. You're going to come into a half frog pose. Oh, good, feeling the inside line of that left leg kind of kissing the floor wherever it touches. And that gentle opening through the groin, inner thigh. Good. So we're also going to work the kidney meridian today, which is located on the front of your body. It runs down, just like flanking the midline, and then it goes into the inner groin area. There are 3 points there. And then it kind of snakes down the inside line of your leg. All the way down into your foot. There's a point on the very bottom that we'll get to later. Good. And your kidney energy system is related to anxiety, fight or flight response. Good. Fear. When things are kind of out of balance, we can go in that direction maybe. The kidneys are also the home of an energy called Jing, which is your essence. Okay, this is what makes you, you. Good, and it's something that you have had since you were born, since you were conceived even. And it's something that fluctuates through your life. And it can be built up, and it can also be torn down based on things that happen to you, choices that you make. And spending just maybe another 7 or 8 breaths here on the side. You might be keeping that left knee bent, or if you want to straighten it out long and to the side, that's an option, something you could do. But as always, remembering Mary's words, this isn't a contest, but a doorway into thanks. So if it feels like, extending your leg out long is not a big thank you, like, oh, thank you, then just no, you don't need to. It's fine. Be where you want to be. Good. The breaths that make sense to you. Good. All right, and very slowly, if you've extended that leg, give it a nice bend again. Send it long behind you. And yeah, a few options. Okay, so you might rock your lower leg side to side like little windshield wipers, or you can circle them. Okay, you might come up into another Sphinx pose if that's your thing. Or if you're looking to do like a little bit of strengthening today, it might be nice to press yourself up into like a forearm plank, right? So what kind of energy do you have in your body? What do you need to do? What's enough, right? Good. Just a few more breaths doing this thing in the middle. Or maybe it's a bunch of things. Great. When you are ready, you can just drag the right knee up towards the right side of the chest. Same thing, other side. Good. Really noticing where the knee is in relation to the hip. Okay. The position of your foot and ankle. Nice. And soften the inner corners of the eyes again. Good. Another, I don't know, maybe 10 breaths or so here in your half frog. You're remaining where you are. Or maybe extending that leg out long if you want to. Good. Few more breaths. Right. And then that right leg will come back behind you. And same thing, just a little something in the middle here. And sometimes it's nice to tap the tops of your feet on the ground too. Another meridian that we are going to be working with this morning is our liver meridian, and that starts at the inner point of one of the ribs close to our sternum. So like kind of at the solar plexus area. And it goes all the way down the belly into the inner part of the leg. And it ends on the tops of the feet. So by tapping your feet, if you're doing that, you're helping to stimulate the liver 2 and 3 points, which are powerful grounding points. Just a few more breaths, doing the thing in the middle. Good, and then from here, let's just take the hands underneath the shoulders, and we're gonna lift ourselves up and back. I'm thinking into a puppy pose here. So melting heart. Good, your arms are extended out in front of you. Your elbows can be bent or straight, just depending on whatever works. And then drop your head down, maybe to the floor, maybe onto a block. And really focus here on how it feels when you move the hips kind of back in space. Okay, creating a little space between the lower ribs and the top of the pelvis. Good, a little more space in the belly, which is home of our kidney meridian and our liver meridian. We'll be here for just a little while longer, maybe like 5 breaths or so. Right, and then start to come on out of this. And I think just for a moment, we'll sit back on our heels and maybe like wiggle the shoulders around a touch. Good, so you might like roll them around, or maybe you're just shaking your upper body side to side like a corkscrew. Good, you might spend a moment in stillness. Let's just hang out here for a good 5 breaths or so. Okay, notice the natural curves of the spine and see if you can bring your head back so it's right on top of your pelvis. Good. Right. And then from here, we're going to just touch ourselves a little bit. So if you happen to have an oil nearby that you like to use, you might grab an oil, but that's totally, optional. All right, and we're going to begin. We're going to begin with our eyebrows. So let's take our thumbs and our index fingers. I'm going to get a little closer so you can see me. All right, so your thumbs and your index fingers, and let's just pinch the inner part of your eyebrow here. All right, closest to your third eye. Good, a little pinch, maybe like a gentle kneading kind of action. Good, and then take your take that little pinch all the way down the length of your eyebrow. Good, a couple times, and maybe it's less of a pinching and more of a sliding. Okay, if that feels better to you. So your thumb's kind of on the inside part of your eye socket. Odd as that may sound. Good, all right. And then we're just gonna take our fingers and slide them across our forehead, as if you're kind of like peeling something away here. So all of the points on our forehead are collectively known as the doors of perception, which I know is an Aldous Huxley thing. Wait, is it, maybe it's Thomas Henry Huxley, I forget. But it's this idea that we carry around lenses, right? We have lenses that we see the world through, and sometimes they can become a little like clouded or a little bit dirty. So thinking of this as sort of like, I don't know, taking your squeegee, clearing away all the craziness. Yeah, a few more breaths. All right, and then we're just going to touch our heads on either side of like the midline. So this like shampooing action. Okay, our scalps are covered in these urinary bladder points. So on either side of the midline, front to back, top to bottom. Good, and then you're gonna just follow that down into your neck on either side of your spine. Give yourself a little something there. And then let's float the fingers down, and we're gonna kind of perform that like not scraping, but kind of raking action at the chest as well. So this is our kidney meridian here, begins up and around our collarbones. Good, a few more breaths right here at the heart. All right, and then we're going to take it down into the belly, right? From the center of the belly out. Same type of thing. Good, a few more breaths like that. All right, and then from here, let's just take our hands down into our thighs, the tops of our thighs, and just kind of gently press down. It doesn't have to be anything super serious. Good, but just making contact there. Right, and then eventually we're just gonna kind of sit over to the right and extend the left leg out nice and long. The sole of your right foot will be somewhere along the inside line of that left leg, or maybe it's out a little wider, the heel's closer to your pelvis. And we're just gonna fold forward here, really getting into the inner part of that left leg. And you might take your bolster, your blocks, or whatever you've got under your forearms. Good, but allow yourself to round into this. Good, compressing the belly, giving a little more space to the muscles that surround your spine. Good. How about another 7 or 8 breaths here? Good. And as you're breathing, just kind of take notice of how the sensation is feeling for you. Does it feel like enough, too much, too little? Good. Adjusting if you need to or want to. Good. One more breath. Good. And just start to lift yourself back up. We're going to keep that leg nice and long and just take like a little baby twist. Doesn't have to be anything serious. Your right hand on that left thigh. Good. Looking out over that left leg. Relax your toes and your ankle. Good, and then we're going to take that left hand and slide it down the left leg and just reach the right arm up. And maybe you're holding it high like this, or you could take your hand to the left side of your head and reach up through your elbow. Good, a few breaths here, not too long. All right, and then let's lift ourselves up here. And let's bring that left knee back on top of the right. We're just going to take another moment for a twist. So that right hand on the left knee or lower leg. Good. You might look over that left shoulder. Good. And then unwind yourself onto hands and knees just accordingly. Good. We're going to send the right leg nice and long behind and take a bunch of circles with the ankle here. So our ankle is full of points for both the liver and the kidney meridians. Your feet are full of those points too. So really take notice of how your right foot is feeling. Good. How do things feel in the hip, in the knee? Few more breaths. And if you want to float that left arm up for a balance, you're welcome to do that. It's another option for strengthening. Good, and then we're going to take the right toes across the midline, drop them down to the floor to the outside of your left hip. Good, leg is long and just kind of press back into the heel. Good, stimulating our kidney 1 point. Good, and then from here, extend that right leg nice and long behind again. Drop the knee down, and we'll just move around a little bit. A little cat and cow action. Maybe it's a little weirder than cat and cow. Right, there are always like a ton of options for movement here. So I've really been enjoying kind of picking my feet up and pointing my toes out, and then bending my elbows just a little bit. It's a nice kind of like strengthening situation for the upper body and the belly. Good, but maybe you want to focus on rounding the back and really dropping the belly. Good, and then from here, let's come back to sit on the heels again. Good, and we'll just sit up for a moment and take Vajradhamma Mudra. So interlacing your fingers like a little gate, thumbs point up. Good, and just let yourself kind of soften here a little bit. Your shoulders relax. Let your belly relax. All right, one more breath. All right, and then we're just going to scoot the hips over to the left and extend the right leg out nice and long. So the sole of that left foot will come somewhere in the inside line of the right leg. Good. At first, kind of sitting up tall and feeling your sitting bones connecting to the ground underneath you. And eventually fold yourself in. In a pose like this, it is really important to pay attention to the sensation, especially around the sitting bone. And be really discerning about how far you go and what's enough here. Nice. Let's stay here for a little while, a couple minutes. Good. A few more deep breaths here, maybe like 3 or 4. Good. And start to lift yourself up and out of the fold. Good. And we'll just take a little spin towards that right leg. So your left hand might be on the knee or your thigh. Your right hand next to your right hip. Good. A little baby twist. Right. And then we'll slide that right hand down that right leg. And take the side body stretch. Yeah, maybe that left arm reaches up, or it couldn't touch the right side of your head here. Good. So then bringing yourself back up, let's slide that right knee over towards the left. Take our little twist again, your left hand maybe on your right shin, your thigh. Good, and then we'll transition back onto hands and knees. Just a little bit more movement here, movement of your choice. I'm gonna suggest, however, kind of like a de-armoring technique, which is keeping your spine kind of as straight as you can, or as neutral as you can here, crown reaching out, tailbone reaching back. But instead of like what we usually do here, which is like pull the belly in to support, see if you can really relax the belly. It feels so strange when you first do it. Like, what am I doing? But keeping that nice taut line from the top of the head to the tip of the tailbone, maybe while letting the belly just drop down. Good, and yeah, of course, movement if that feels better in your body. Good, extending that left leg out nice and long now, hold it up. Good, rotate the ankle a few times. Nice. You might lift up that right arm, lifting it forward, or not. Good, and then take those left toes in, bring them across the midline, drop them down. And you might take this little bit of like a rocking motion, pressing the heel back. Maybe. Good. All right, let's bring that left leg nice and long behind again, drop the knee down, and we'll come back to sit on the heels, just for a few breaths here. It might be nice to just have the backs of your hands on the tops of your thighs, palms facing up. Hmm. Good, and then from here, let's just stand up onto the knees. We're gonna take a little camel practice. So your hands are at your lower back, which, as I said before, is kind of like a hotbed of vital points for your urinary bladder meridian. So thinking about making contact there in a way that feels really good to you. And then lifting up the heart, broaden those collarbones. You feel either side of the midline, getting a nice stretch, and maybe drop the head back. Just be here for a few breaths. All right, very slowly bring yourself back down. And just as long as you don't have any cervical spinal issues, let's take a rabbit pose and come up onto the top of the head. If you do have C-spine issues and don't want to place any pressure, you can come into child's pose or sitting on your heels, or just wherever feels right. Okay, but here in your rabbit pose, you might consider tapping your feet on the ground, like one at a time. Okay, your hands can be down here on the floor to support you. They might be on your lower back. You might make some ears, interlacing your fingers, pressing your knuckles up towards the ceiling. And if you're doing that tapping, just notice the way the ground feels on the tops of your feet. Good, a few more deep breaths. All right, and then very slowly, just come on out of it. Come up to sit on your heels for a second. Great, first reach the crown of the head up and feel like that nice lengthening of the neck. Good, and then some intuitive movements of your head. Maybe it's like a little half circle, a little roll, ear to shoulder, and then to the other side. Maybe you want to hang out in one spot, or even take your fingers somewhere onto your neck where you're feeling a little bit of tension if you've got it. Another option is to roll the head all the way around really slowly. Good. If you're rolling it all the way around, be sure to go in both directions. Good. A few more breaths here. Good, and then we're gonna come to our seat and get set up for a butterfly pose. So soles of the feet come together. And really the choice is yours here. You can make this a bit more active if you're feeling it by dragging the heels in towards the rest of you and really feeling that opening through the inside of your thigh. Or you can take your feet further away and just kind of sink into this. Good, using props if you want to. It's nice to have a couple blocks under your knees, especially if the outer part of your hip feels a little tender here. Good, or maybe a bolster on top of your feet. Good, let yourself settle in. Oh, and as an added bonus, I totally forgot, we could stimulate our kidney 1 point while we're here. Okay, your kidney 1 point is on the sole of your foot. It's right where the ball of your foot meets the skin of the arch. So you'll have that darker color skin on the ball of the foot and the lighten up on the arch probably. And it's right in between the big toe and the second toe. So if you just trace that point down, you'll reach kidney 1. And maybe you're pressing into it. Maybe it's a little massaging action, or maybe you're just not even going there, and that's fine too. Oh. And as you settle in, notice the location of your organs, the kidneys. And so right on either side of your spine, the lower part of your back, mid to lower part of your back. Okay, breathe and just imagine that you can send the breath in that direction, or at least some movement from your breath. And if you're still gripping the point on your foot, just let it go and maybe give your whole arch a little squeeze, just for laughs. Good, let's take a couple more breaths here. All right, and then very slowly start to lift yourself up. If you've got some props around you, you might take them away for a moment. And let's just kind of fold the legs in so that we can give the inner part of our ankle a little bit of a massage. So you're just gonna kind of press the heel of your hand into that inside line of the leg from like your mid shin on down. Okay, run your hand over your ankle, the inside part of your foot, maybe giving yourself a little squeeze along the way. Good, a few breaths here, not forever. Good, and then go ahead and extend whichever leg you were just working on out long. And let's do the same thing on the other leg. Okay, so from just about your mid shin area on the inner line of the leg, pressing the heel of your hand down and in, like comfortably, like not too much, not too little, just enough. Good. Maybe squeezing your feet. Good. A few more breaths. All right, and then from here, let's extend that leg out long. And we're gonna find a bit of a wide angle. If wide angle is not your jam, you can soften this a whole lot. You might take blocks underneath your knees and bend your knees a whole lot. Maybe you close off the angle and it's not as wide. And just play around with this a little bit. All right, and then we're just gonna fold into this. All right, just going for it. Good, again, maybe you have some props underneath your forearms. Maybe, like I'm gonna set up a bolster here and block on top and then rest my forehead on the block. Good, take notice of your heels where they touch the ground and see what your feet are doing. And maybe everything softens just a little bit. Good. Why don't we take another 10 breaths or so? Like another minute and a half in this wide angle. Good. Really checking in with what's happening in your physical body and that kind of energetic layer underneath it. Adjusting if you need to. And just knowing that whatever you're doing is enough. It's good enough. And so if we cut out that voice that kind of is on top of everything, judging our experience, what's underneath that? Okay, what's the reality of this situation right now? Wonderful. All right, begin to bring yourself up. And we're going to sink into a few restorative poses to close out, right? But it might be nice here, just for a moment, just before we do that, before we really rest, to gather up the knees, bring them in, and maybe you're floating the feet up into a little like boat situation. Your hands might be clasping the backs of your thighs. Maybe your hands reach out or up. Maybe your legs extend, who knows? Just taking a few moments, maybe with a strong thing. Okay, before eventually, we're gonna set ourselves up for, let's see, a restorative twist. So if you have a block and a bolster nearby, you can just take that block and set it on either its medium or low setting and make a little ramp for yourself. If you don't happen to have a bolster nearby, that's okay. You can just take a twist on your back. Right. Lying down, knees to chest and dropping them over to one side. And we'll just begin with whichever hip you want, touching the bolster. And take your hands to frame it and then set yourself down. If things feel a little too intense, you might bump that block up to a higher setting. Make the ramp a little steeper. Good, we'll sink in here for a couple minutes. And notice the way your breath is moving, your ribs, the sides of your waist, your shoulders. You notice the position of your head. You might decide to flip your head over so that you're facing away from your knees. Just to notice what the neck feels like as you do that. If you get there and it doesn't feel like a good thing, just come on back. Good, another few breaths here. Great, and in your favorite way, just come to the other side. It might involve you pressing your hands down and swinging your knees under and taking cats and cows. Or maybe you even want to stretch back into like a down dog from here. Let your head rest on the bolster maybe. Or the other option is to just like sit up and just roll over to the other side. Yeah, but eventually we'll all get there. Other hip down. Okay, turning yourself towards the bolster and settling in. And maybe you're turning your head off to the other side, maybe not, but just settling in for another minute or so. Hmm. Good. Another breath. Right, and when you feel ready, you can just come on up and out of this in your favorite way and get yourself set up for a final pose. A couple of ideas might be to just swing your legs up the bolster and come to lie down. This is what I'm going to do. You might also put your back on the bolster and find like a little bit of like a front body opening pose. Maybe it's a recline bound angle. Maybe you want to remove all the props and take Shavasana or seated meditation, and that's great too. Ooh, I just thought of this one. Maybe a recline bound angle with your feet on the bolster and your knees dropping wide if you have a lot of range of motion in your hips and you think it would feel good. All right, so just taking your time to get settled in. We've got a few minutes here. And wherever you are, bring some attention to the back of your head. If it's touching the ground, you might rock your head from side to side a little bit. And wherever you are, relax the muscles that move your eyes. Soften your glare. And just breathing the way that your body is directing it to breathe at this point. Maybe you still want to place that little element of control on the breath. You're really focusing on how to, take in enough and release enough. What does that feel like for you? Or maybe you just let it go. Good. These last few breaths here, maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit more purposeful, or on purpose, I should say. Good. If you're on your back, it might feel nice to pull your knees in towards your chest and rock around in your lower back a little bit. Okay, yeah, but eventually we'll all meet up in a seated kind of position. Yay. Hi, everyone. Maybe for a second, we'll just kind of like look at each other. Whoever wants to do that. Oh, hi. Cool. All right. And yeah, let's bring our arms out and lean this way and lean that way. Yeah. And maybe reach up if there's somebody above you, and maybe put your hands on the ground if there's somebody below you. Good. And then let's take our hands onto our heart. Sit it nice and tall. Big breath in. Exhale, drop your head down towards your hands and your heart, honoring your practice and honoring each other. Oh, well, enjoy this summer-like day. It was so good to be back. Good to see all your faces.